Walking through the dealership yesterday, it got me to thinking about my beautiful bike and the story of me buying it, and I thought I would share it with you. While I walk through the dealership, I'm looking at all the brand new, faster, safer bikes, and it just dawned on me that the most important part about my bike is the emotional connection to it and the reasons to which I bought it. My first bike was a Kawasaki Ninja 250. I had a great time. It was a great bike, but it had a very short life expectancy, to which I got one season out of it before I did eventually buy my dream Harley Davidson. I was raised under the notion that you do not buy nice things until you are old, and yet at 26 years old, I found the deal of a lifetime for my dream bike that I could not pass up. I walked into Pool Cycle in Hamilton, the second oldest Harley Davidson dealership in Canada, and they had this, a 2010 Harley Davidson Nightster. The year was 2015, and the bike had 13 kilometers on it. I asked him why the bike had 13,000 kilometers on it and why it was still for sale when it was such a beautiful bike. He said, no, it only has 13 kilometers. 13, no more. So I immediately was interested. This bike in 2010 listed for $13,800 Canadian, plus taxes, shipping, fees, and everything else. Pool Cycle had the bike listed at $11,200, and I ended up paying $9,600 for this bike, brand new in 2015 with 13 kilometers on it. This bike represented a lot. It represented me surviving my childhood and becoming an adult who worked and paid taxes and was a functioning member of society, and I felt like this was just a once-in-a-lifetime opportunity to own a once-in-a-lifetime bike that I will hopefully never sell, ever. I ended up doing a few things to the bike. I have my reservations on it now, being 9 years down the road, but I did end up putting a performance machine performance intake on it, Vance & Hines 2-2 big radius pipes, and a Screamin' Eagle performance tuner. I will say this bike is one of the very few bikes I've ever seen with a belt drive and a 1200cc motor that does wheelies. For those of you that ride bikes, wheelies aren't a big deal, unless it's belt drive and a V-twin and a Harley. There I was, 26 years old, riding out of the dealership on my brand new Harley Davidson that had 13 kilometers on it and already quite modified. Sounded like the heavens had the most beautiful thunderstorm everywhere I went. I will say this was the easiest bike I have ever ridden. This made the Ninja 250 feel like it was an absolute handful. The low center of gravity, the enormous amount of clutch feel, the heavy duty clutch in it makes this bike one of the easiest to ride bikes for advanced or beginner riders that I have ever experienced. The summer of 2015 came and went. I had a lovely time on the bike. Getting to know it was just one of the highlights of my life. Got it out the following spring, and I really wanted to buy a Camaro. I really wanted to buy a Camaro, and I should have at that point realized I was about to make one of the worst decisions of my life and buy a Camaro, but I did not. I digress. It was a learning experience, to say the least. But before I bought that Camaro, in July, I told myself, if you buy a Camaro, you have to start making YouTube videos, because you cannot buy these luxury items basically working for free for your family business, which I guess was doing well, but I never seen any of that. That's here nor there. You have to do YouTube. You have to do a second source of income and use your hobbies to pay for your hobby. The part I missed out on, and the part I regret most, is that I told myself I will start YouTube when I buy a cool vehicle, and I was waiting to buy a Camaro. And I think we can all agree the bike is a heck of a lot cooler than the Camaro will ever be. That's just fact. It is faster than the Camaro. It is more eye-catching than the Camaro. It is more timeless than the Camaro. And quite frankly, I get more out of every kilometer of driving it than the Camaro, which sounds a little bizarre. I started making content on the bike. I started sharing the bike. I started enjoying it more and experiencing what it really could do. And my feeling that the bike was cooler than the Camaro wasn't just a feeling I had. The analytics showed it too. One of my most successful large format videos to date is this bike. Most of the successful modification videos I have made are of this bike, and the largest review video I have ever made was of this bike. So whether I liked it or not, you were telling me the bike was cooler and I should have been focusing more on the content on the bike while I had it in pristine condition and on the road. But you live and you learn. You can't turn the time back, and I have now spent the last 2.5 years just looking at it. Relationships have changed, health has changed, hobbies have changed, but the one thing that's remained fairly consistent in my entire life is my love for motorcycles and my love for this motorcycle. This Harley Davidson, this XL 1200N Nightster is one of the most beautiful motorcycles I have ever seen in my life. And I walked through a Kawasaki dealership full of the latest and greatest 2024 models that have way more performance or way more comfort or way more bells and whistles. And it just really dawned on me, for the first time in my entire life, I had no desire to be in a dealership looking at new things I could not afford. Normally it doesn't bother me. I just enjoy the art of looking. I enjoy the art of tire kicking. But it just dawned on me that I have such an emotional connection to buying and owning my dream Harley Davidson and my dream motorcycle that I would rather put this on my mantle and never ride it again and use it as an art piece than buy another motorcycle to get some different thrill. Call it growing up, call it maturing, call it whatever you want, but you get to a point in your life where the emotional experience of something has more value than the thrill of things. I guess it's a little ironic coming from a guy that went from a 455 horsepower Camaro to a 44 horsepower pickup truck, but here we are. So going forward, I am planning to spend my summer cleaning the bike up, getting it running, getting it into absolutely tip-top shape, doing some of the maintenance, getting an oil change, and doing all that kind of stuff that I've never done to it because, quite frankly, I've been a little scared or I've never had anywhere to do it. Well, that's all changed. I have no option. I have to do the maintenance myself. I have a place to do it. So help me out. Give me all your tips and tricks. Point me to the resources that you guys use for maintenance on your Harley Davidsons. Which tools do I need to get? And what are the best ways to go about owning this motorcycle has been an absolute pleasure, and I cannot wait to share with you guys in more detail and better quality videos everything this wonderful bike has to offer. Till next time, drive safe, take care, and behave, as always.